Don't forget to like and share this broadcast with your friends and family on Facebook Live as well as on YouTube. Let all of your friends and family know to subscribe so that you know when the Center of Hope is going live.
Well, if it's Monday night and it's 9 p.m., it's time for Real Talk. Let me start by apologizing. We did have some technical difficulties that caused a slight delay, but we're here, we're live, and we're ready to go. And listen, if you're a real talker tonight, you know what I need you to do. Hit the share button and tag as many people as you can. Let them know Real Talk is delayed, but not denied. We're here on tonight. We've got a special conversation ready to rock and roll on this evening. I'm just excited about what God has prepared for us on tonight. Welcome. Barbara, welcome. Deacon Collier, welcome. Karen, welcome. Shirley Shea, all the way from Cape Cod. Karen Horney, all the way from Yonkers, New York. Pastor Joanne Thomas, bless you. All right, Real Talkers, come on in. I know we got a late start because we had some technical difficulties. So guess what? I am not going to be the hold up. Our co-host is here on tonight, the Honorable, His Grace, Dr. Bishop Liston Page II.
Bishop Taylor.
Man, listen. I don't know what happened. We couldn't connect into Facebook, and we were live on YouTube, but not Facebook. Wow. And I didn't want to leave the Facebook family out.
We can't do that.
Yeah. And I had, you know what? I had Rick. Rick was here all day. Rick was here. He was at the church doing some wiring, then came over here because we thought we were going to be in studio together today. And but we'll do that next time. And so he had everything set up for you. And I actually was going to bring a third person in studio. I was going to surprise you. And but anyway, so we had everything set up. And then what happened? Facebook failed. Shame on you, Facebook. No, I'm only kidding. You're our friends. So anyway, listen, man, this is the day that the Lord has made. What's going on, man? Well, you know what? Usually I would ask you, where have you been, what you've been doing. But the last few weeks, we've been trailing each other, all these convocations and conferences and whatnot, and so on and so forth. And I want to tell you, listen, I felt like John crying in the wilderness. I told him, I said, there's one coming whose shoelaces we are not able to tie. And listen, I'm telling you, man, you blessed us tremendously in Florida. And then on Sunday for Pop's 85th birthday.
Oh, man, that was great.
Woo, what a time we had at the Greater Highway Deliverance Temple.
Man, it was great to be with my father, my mother. I grew up in that church. So everyone there, a certain age, I've been knowing them all of my life. And then to see the Kohai Nation, man, to see, of course, Lady Barbara. That's my sister. I love her so much, man.
Right.
Barbara and Sharon and Ron and Michelle and, oh, man. I mean, Trina. I mean, just to see all of your people there. Hassan, the praise and worship guy who I call him one of the 5 heartbeats.
You're talking about Deacon Hollis.
Man, I love Hollis. I mean, it was just being back home with family. And, when you're home with family, it has a different meaning. It brings back a lot of memories and you can't duplicate that. Family is so critical, important in this season of our lives, at least.
Yes.
You appreciate, I appreciate seeing my father and my mother and then my brother. A bonus, me and my brother, we are never in service together except during the Holy Convocation, or if I'm preaching for him, or he's preaching for me. But man, it was absolutely incredible. The choir director, the choir, mass choir, man, listen, it was a tremendous time. It really was.
It really was. And that was a powerful, powerful word that you brought on Sunday. So thank you for that word. Proverbs 20:7, powerful word. And then what was the other scripture you paired with it?
You motivated me. Isaiah 49:15. Yeah. Can a woman forget her suckling child, her nursing baby? I mean, listen, I heard you preach it at 9:00. And I said, you know what? I am preaching this at 12.
Listen, I hate to even share messages with you because see, you taking the places I can't even go. They say, oh, here you go preaching a listing message. But listen, but look, tonight is a very special night. Let me say, first of all, to Bishop Liston Page Sr., our father, a true apostolic father in the faith. Live as long as you want to live and be blessed. I mean, we honor you. Happy birthday, Bishop Liston Page Sr. And so we want to bless him. And Ma, she was sitting next to me, and so she leaned and said, Mitch, do I get half of this money? Because usually when I go out to preach with him, I get half of the honorarium. I said, Ma, I don't have nothing to do. Listen, you've been handling the money forever. So I mean, whatever y'all do, just keep on doing it. So, but anyway, man, it was a tremendous time, truly. So, there's a lot going on, a lot happening in California. I didn't check with Noel. Did you call Noel?
Oh yeah, I've talked to him several times.
Okay, cool. I called some folks out in California and checked on them, and they had Hillary and they had a slight earthquake. And a couple of folks I talked to, they said the furniture was moving, so it was there's a couple of cracks in the walls, and some of the and other places even worse.
Yeah.
You know, there's mud, there's flooding, you know, so we're praying for our brothers and sisters in the impact area. They got hit with a double header, Hillary and an earthquake.
Yeah, Southern California. We're really praying for them. We really are.
Yeah. And then there was one other situation I was talking to someone about today. Yeah. Young man in my church, he was in service yesterday. He told me to tell you, Bishop, he'll probably be on tonight. Khalif Clark, Deacon Khalif Clark, Hassan's youngest brother.
Wow.
Pastor Hassan's youngest brother.
Okay.
He was there yesterday. He said that you tremendously blessed him. I see Bishop Donald Oliver on with us tonight. Thank you. Bless you, sir.
Bishop.
Bless you.
Bishop.
All right.
Mitch,
All
you know
right.
what we gotta do? And I've been wanting to have him on. We have to get Bishop Donald Oliver on the Real Talk. I mean, he's a great man of God, and I think he would bring a lot to the show. We just have to coordinate it, but he's a great man of God. And you know what? Everything we do, he supports. He comes on Monday night. I've seen him on my Wednesday night School of the Bible. I've seen him on the Fall of the Prophet. So I really would like us to create this relationship, this friendship, you know. So he has shown himself friendly. So I would love for us to have him come on and have some dialogue with us.
Well, let me just say this. Bishop Donald Oliver, when we didn't know how to spell technology, okay, that man was into technology, okay? That was Mr. Technology for the late Archbishop Roy Edward Brown.
Wow.
Okay. Pilgrim. And that's where he's a son of that church.
Wow.
He's a son of that church. Yes, he is. And yes, absolutely. He should be on with us, and he knows that he's welcome to come. And I will make sure that the producer will reach out to him and get him on. That's done. Because say less, Bishop. What? Anybody else you want to bring on tonight? Anybody else you want to get? Listen, but hey, Bishop, listen, we got a late start because I don't know, Facebook didn't want to let us on tonight, but we got on. I don't know if it was on our end or some technical difficulties there. But
Bishop,
tonight,
not to cut you off, Bishop. There's a young preacher on with us tonight, Evangelist Darrell Spud Brown from the DC area. Mitch, he's a great preacher, man. He's with Bible Way, International Bible Way. And he's also in a doctoral program at Asbury Theological Seminary. I mean, he's a young man that is doing tremendous things in International Bible Way. And I'm so proud of him. You know, I don't say that in a paternal way because he has a great father, a great man of God, comes from great heritage. Bishop Joe Nathan Brown of Bible Way, and so is his aunt, his uncle, pastor of the church. I mean, he's a great man of God. And for him to be on tonight, and he's in his intensives in Kentucky right now at Asbury. So for him to be on tonight, man, we are truly appreciative. So Spud, I love you, man. And I talked to Dr. Alvarez today. So he's excited that you're in class. So, man, listen, I love you. Keep up the good work. Keep up the good work.
Well, listen, Bishop Brown, listen, if Bishop Page loves you, you know I love you too. So whatever he says, I say double, and I enforce it and endorse it. And God bless you, man. We wish you the best. Wish you the best. Listen, if I wasn't so old, I'd come join you for a couple of classes myself.
Man.
but it's never too late. It's never too late to join the rank and file and walk the halls of academia. But you know, having said that, I think this is a great segue tonight. We have a great conversation that we need to. Somebody said, Bishop Praise, you destroyed the church yesterday.
That must be my sister. That must be my sister Michelle. That's my sister. That's family. So you know they're biased. They're biased.
That's true. No, they ain't biased. It's true. But look, it's true. So look, you know, we've been dealing with, and we got a great young man that's coming on with us on tonight. And I say that with deference and respect to him. He is a overseer. He's an academician. As a young man, he knows the Bible. He's been on with us before. He's the author of the book God of Our Fathers. Tonight we're going to be talking to him and he's going to help us kind of dive into this dialogue tonight. And it might get a little uncomfortable for him, but he can handle it because he's anointed for this. But we'll get to him in a minute. Let me get to my notes over here. Okay, so we dealt with the 10 biggest issues facing the church, and I think I think we were great. I think we did. We were a little docile. I mean, we didn't go there. We went some places. We didn't finish up with some of the places we wanted to go to because I can't let you loose on everything, Bishop. I can't do it. I gotta spoon feed you I can't. It's too much. You know what I mean? So, but we still have to deal with, and this is a real big issue for us because we think just because, we endorse women preachers and we respect their ministry and whatnot, we're still dealing with that subject of, that culture of
that sexist, patriarchal context. But I work under one of the most brilliant women in ministry, not just Pentecostal ministry, not just in Pentecostal apostolic Christian faith tradition, but I consider her to be one of the most brilliant women in just the whole context of religion. And I work under her at the Joint College of African American Bishops, Pentecostal bishops, and that's Bishop Dr. Carolyn Showell. I'm her assistant dean. I'm chief operating officer, but I work under her tutelage and her leadership. And it is amazing to me. It is amazing to me that in the 21st century, 2023, that would even be a concern in our context. I think egalitarian leadership is something that should be purported, not just by you and I, but I think that, and of course, there are others that share our same sentiments and ideologies, but there are a great number of others that do not mind the gifting of our sisters. Don't mind the cognitive comprehension and energy of our sisters, but they don't view our female counterparts in the same light as it may relate to authority and serving on boards that make decisions. And just in a Pentecostal context, that's not across the board, but I think a lot of times that is what we've been exposed to. So, of course, we never got into that. I know we're not going to get into that tonight. But
I'm for the women. I just want to go on record and say I'm for the women. And you know what? If I was the women, I just wouldn't take it. Okay, I'm telling you. I'm just going to go on record and tell all my ebony queens out there If God has called you to the ministry, don't you let nobody tell you that you can't be anointed and used of God. Period. I'm with the women on that. Now, I want to say this. We've traveled around the country and around the world together. One of the most historic places that we went to, I'm looking at a picture over here. It says South Africa. But in this context, when you talk about women in ministry, I'm thinking about when we went to Johannesburg and we went to Cape Town, and we've been back several times since. But the first time we went to Robben's Island, and we began to get the statistics about how 40 million Black people were enslaved by 4 million white people. It didn't make sense. This is when Mandela was imprisoned. 4 million controlled 40 million. It just didn't make sense to me. Now, of course, those dynamics have changed dramatically. It's flipped on its back now. It's totally different now. Thank God apartheid is ended, and it's a whole different scenario. I say that to say that women have their place in ministry, and if it wasn't for the women in ministry, we'd be in trouble.
Well, when we got off that plane in Johannesburg years ago, and we had the opportunity and the pleasure to travel with Bishop Hezekiah Walker and Love Fellowship, that organization. Yes. And he afforded us opportunity to go and also minister. But yes, one of the greatest aspects of that whole trip was going to the Apartheid Museum in Johannesburg. Went to a couple of them, and then we went to Soweto and stayed in the hotel that Mandela stayed in. Then to get on a plane and fly to Cape Town, go to another Apartheid Museum there, then go to Robben's Island, and then to realize how it doesn't take one for one to keep people enslaved or to keep people in bondage. It just takes that minority to make an example of one from the majority.
That's right.
And then the minds of the majority go into cognitive dissonance. And that's basically what happened in South Africa. They would take the most vocal, the most gifted, the most proud, and they would shame them and deride them and emasculate them and castrate them. And those who were less aggressive but more docile automatically got in line to, the agenda of the dominant culture at that time. So there's so much we can say about that. There's just so
let me tell you something. Listen, you know what? And next week we're gonna jump into this next week, because I want to talk about that control. I want to go to Jeremiah. I want to talk about Jeremiah, his summary in chapter. Well, he couldn't have wrote it because he's dead by then. But I want to deal with that. There's so much we could talk about in terms of that, but we're not going to go there tonight. Thank you, Bishop Hezekiah Walker, for affording us that opportunity. And but listen, I want to move to this. We dealt with the 10 biggest issues facing the Christian church. Now, I want to jump into the 10 biggest issues facing our youth in the Christian church, and maybe particularly youth leaders or those that have a semblance. We fight against a systemic oppression in the country, but yet systemically oppressed women in the. There you go. Now see, Bishop Brown, please don't get me started tonight. Please don't get me started tonight, because we pastor churches that are populated in most cases 70% women and 30% men. And yet we don't want women in leadership. and I don't even want listen. I don't. There are things that I can say that I cannot say right now about that whole thing. We have to have a whole nother conversation list about that. But you're right, Bishop Brown. You're right. You're right.
I mean, we fight. I love the way Spud put it. We fight against systemic oppression.
Yeah.
But yet we systematically oppress women in the church. And there is a system that we have put in place to keep women marginalized.
Yeah.
We want their gift, we want their talent, but we don't want to value them in positions of leadership. Now that's I don't want to make a stereotype or a blanket statement, because that would be unfair to those that do believe in egalitarian leadership. So I don't want to do that. So we need time to talk about that, really.
Yeah. We got too much to talk about. You're right. Let's bring this young man on, Dr. Kasim Joseph, Overseer Joseph. How you doing, son?
I'm well, Bishop. I'm doing well. How you doing, sir?
I'm going. Listen. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, because see, these two old fellas couldn't handle this conversation without you. I'm telling you now. We couldn't handle it without you tonight. We need your help, bro. We need your help.
Okay, I'll try as best as I can.
Well, real talkers, you guys remember Dr. Joseph. He's the author of the book God of Our Fathers, that gave a history of Apostle Johnny Washington, Arturo Skinner, and a modern day father, Prophet Brian Jefferson Mosley. Anyway, but tonight I wanted to bring him on as as we're dealing with generation, the millennials and the Z's, and I don't know what comes after the Z's. These two scholars will tell me.
Yeah, you got Alpha, Generation Alpha.
We go back to the beginning again. Yeah. So here we go. So we have alphas. And so I wanted to talk about, the biggest issues facing youth pastors, youth ministries today, because if we're going to have any continuity in succession planning and whatnot, we have to be able to see where we're going, what we have, what's in the bench, how are we, moving forward. But then how do we use, the young tools and lions of the faith to inspire the other young people and to give leadership, hence youth pastors and, youth speakers and youth preachers. It's not, in my mind, it was never to keep a minister from moving to the next ministerial level. Yeah. It was just because we needed, I want to say, this is not a good term, so I'm not going to use that term, but we needed someone that could identify, that the young people could identify with, that was anointed, that was, giving their life to the Lord, and it wasn't prohibitive. It wasn't marshaled. It was something that you wanted to do because of the relationship as a young man, that you develop with God. So I wanted to, I don't know, Bishop Page, you want to chime in there real quick? Because I do have some questions and stuff, but it feels like there's something organically kind of brewing here with that.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if first of all, it's good to see you again, Dr. Joseph, and I appreciate you being able to be on with us tonight. I don't know if you want to respond to what my host said, because he framed this really nice for discussion. Yeah, and I don't want to mess it up, because see, I'm mad. I'm sick of y'all personally. So
what do we do? Okay,
I don't want to mess it up. I'm really sick of y'all. So I don't want to mess it up. I really don't. Sure. So I want to be nice. I don't want to fight tonight, but I sense in my spirit a rebuke coming from me to y'all. So I just
okay. Let me explain. So I'm glad I'm here. I think much of my ministry has been either preaching in pulpits or having to answer for my generation. It's usually one of those two. And I feel like it's about 50-50 at this point. Having called in by people, men of God, even especially within your age range, to come and talk to y'all, you know what I'm saying, and like explain and kind of interpret what's different about the generation. I'm grateful that God has allowed me to be a bit of a bridge between the two, and to say, like, you know, explain like both sides of the coin. I've been blessed to do that all my life. Thank you, Dow. Don't you leave this comment section. You stay in there with me, brother. Stay in there with me, okay? But yeah, but yes, yeah, I can try to give as much clarity as I can. I will admit that it is not a monolith. This generation is not a monolith, but there are a lot of common threads and things that exist amongst us. So depending on which direction we want to go in first is where I'll start with. But I just want to let y'all kick the ball at me, and then I'll see where we can move that.
Okay, I'm ready. I'm ready.
Sure.
Again, I will reiterate what I said. I'm sick of you. I'm sick of all of y'all. That's number one. Now, to me, this is my problem. This. Let me tell you what my issue is.
Yes.
I don't quite understand why youth pastors want to be senior pastor.
Yeah.
While they still you. No. Don't say yeah. Y'all need to stay in your lane. I'm sick of y'all. I just want to understand.
Mm-hmm.
I just need you to help me, Doc.
I was just having this conversation
because
earlier.
There was a day, you know, now this is just me. This is just listing page. I grew up in an era, and maybe I need to stop talking about the baby boomer era, because that kind of causes y'all to feel nauseous, where you want to throw up about me talking about our process, and we were hazed, and we were punished, and we were rebuked, and we were corrected. Y'all don't want to hear none of that. Y'all, in fact, y'all ain't gonna put up, excuse my English, you all are not going to put up with the same type of humiliation that we felt when we were coming up in ministry. I was never a youth pastor, but I was. I was never a youth leader, but I was. And when I was the youth president of our Reformation, I got replaced on the floor. They didn't bring me in an office. See how your eyes got large? See, y'all couldn't handle none of that. In fact, I wasn't even there at that winter meeting when they made new appointments. My uncle got up from the pulpit and said, listen, Junior is no longer over the youth department of our organization. I got somebody else I'm appointing. He had no conversation. We had no dialogue. He never told me what I did wrong or what I did right. And it seems to me that this generation, though gifted, though very exposed, though extremely cognitive and intelligent, y'all are disrespectful. And I don't like it. And I need to tell that to your face. Y'all are very disrespectful. So I need you to help me. Spud, and I'm talking to Spud too. Spud is disrespectful. Why? Why y'all like that?
I can give you a few things. I can give you a few things. So let me start with this. The major point that I'm noticing here. I appreciate you, Bishop, because you're a straight shooter, and I always love that about you. You go tell it like it is. So the first thing I will say is that you brought up the idea of the fact of why do the youth pastors a lot of time want to be senior pastors. The fundamental issue is this, and I say this with all respect and deference. A lot of times what ends up happening is that people give someone the position of youth pastor because they're a young preacher. Just because they're a young preacher or just because they're young and called to ministry does not mean they're called to be a youth pastor. I've seen some very fruitful and successful youth pastors that are older, that know how to connect, that know how to, you know what I'm saying, build those connections with the young people and are more fruitful. And then I've seen a lot of, horror shows, you know what I'm saying, things going completely wrong, giving it to somebody that was young and trying to be really, in touch and hip or whatever, and just made a mess. So I think the problem is a lot of times when you're young and you're called to preach, or you're young and you have an anointing in your life, a lot of times by default, they give you youth services, youth pastor. And so I understand it to an extent, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm called to minister to the next generation or to raise up this generation. And I think a lot of the skills that are needed for nurturing and to train them and to teach submission and stuff like that, those are things that we're still learning. And so, how are we gonna, shepherd them in that way? And we're still figuring it out. I think a lot of times, like one of my problems that I used to have for a long time was I was always given to, I don't mind it. I still do it. I'll always do it, but I was always given a lot of youth services. I preach a lot of youth services. I don't mind that at all. But then, as I started getting older and going to school and preaching more and learning more, I had a lot of stuff I wanted to get out, a lot of heavy stuff I wanted to get out, and preaching at some of these services with the kids, it was hard to do that there. And so I realized when I was given the opportunity to start teaching at Dominion, and I'm teaching theology and teaching the Bible and teaching the script, and I'm like, oh, I love this. This is where I am. This is my thing. And so that's really where my strength is, preaching to the people at that level, even though I'm young. So I think the problem is some people that are given a position of youth pastor are not necessarily gifted to minister to that generation and to raise them up and teach them in that way because they're still learning. The second point I would say is that I understand rebuke is essential. I mean, I came up, even though, again, I'm younger, but I came up Institutional Church of God in Christ. They, we was, they were very old school by many standards. I know how it feels to be rebuked. I know how it feels to be corrected. I know how it feels to be silenced. I know how it feels to be, you're not doing that. That wasn't enough oil. What was that? I know how it feels to get my coattail pulled. I know how, I know what all that. Bishop White, when I went to my uncle, Bishop White, and I went to him after I turned 18, same thing. It was, I would go in, I think I did a good job. And he was like, what was that? Well, who were you preaching to? Why were you so long? I'm thinking I'm anointed. The altar call was too long. You just, Like, so I know how it feels to get checked, and be checked publicly, privately. But one thing I will say that is different now versus your day is that you told me that story, but if you had not have told me that story, I wouldn't have known it because there was no camera. There was no live stream. And I think one of the things that is good and bad for the church is that now everybody can know what happened to me at my church. And the problem is now, and because of social media, the lines have been blurred between the local church and Facebook church world, the world as a whole. So even now, like people preach messages and stuff, and they preach it, and it's really for their congregation. But then somebody else hears it, takes a clip. Like, can you believe people are saying it? It's not for you. So I think the problem is that now social media and cameras and videos has allowed us to blur those lines between the local church experience and the local pastoring, shepherding experience and the church at large. So now you have people that get rebuked, but then somebody records it and reposts it. What you think about this? Well, what do you And so it creates a level of embarrassment and a level of shame for these people that, that causes the issue almost to happen over and over again that y'all probably didn't have to deal with. You dealt with it at your local church or at the local assembly, local convocation, but, somebody in California didn't see it. It wasn't recorded. These things are being recorded. People are being publicly embarrassed. So whenever there's a public rebuke that is issued, one of the things that I wish that the generations would know, and I mean, y'all know, but some of them may not know, it's going around the world. When you do these things, you have to consider the fact that it's not just happening in the local church, it's happening everywhere. So now they're upset and they're rebellious and they're acting up because you have now embarrassed me, not just to the church, to everybody. And now it's been screen recorded and it's been sent around and it's on the shade room and on it. It's so many ways that this thing can go. So I'm just trying to give you some clarity on why that can be so different now. The cameras and social media make a difference.
My concern, Dr. Joseph, is everyone is not a Saul that's trying to kill you, David. I'm sick of that mess too. I'm sick. I tell you, everybody ain't Saul. We mad and we jealous and we intimidated. Everybody is not trying to hold Dr. Keyshawn Joseph's back. That I just don't like that. Spud is laughing. I'm sick of that narrative. Now, of course, I want to be fair. There are some Sauls out there that are extremely abusive and negative and to the point where they kill and they suppress people's gifts and self-esteem. But there's some of us that love you and I appreciate you and I celebrate you and I honor you, but I'm sick of your Absalom spirit. You're a patrol. You're a Absalom. You sit up in my church and you be creating connections with people that I can't connect to. And that's the real issue.
That's dangerous. It's dangerous.
You connect with a certain group of people that I cannot connect to. And I don't call myself an old preacher. You heard me, minister. I try to be as relevant, but I'm going to be biblical. Everything I say is going to be biblically and historically sound. Now, if you don't like the Bible, I'm not going to be your preacher because I don't have cliches and lingos, but there's a place for that. I really believe there's a place for the, to talk about the, Beyonce and the other artists. I don't connect there, but I do connect with Millie Jackson. I do connect with Ronald Isley. Yeah, I connect with Earth, Wind, and Fire. I connect with the OJs and, so there is a place there. But what I see is people wrapping around those who God has given me to shepherd around them. And then they become an under shepherd to those that I am ultimately supposed to be responsible for. And I think that becomes the issue. And I don't think every young man, every young woman that is gifted like you or Spud and other young females. I see old Buster, he on here tonight. Buster Field.
My brother.
I'm sick of him too. He on here tonight. I don't think everyone as gifted as you are still have the humility and the honor and the respect. But I do believe there is an element of entitlement. There's an element of arrogance. There's an element that we know more than they know. And I know it's true because I was young one day too.
So that's the other side of it, Bishop.
There you go. No, you're right. I was young too. And watch this. I did some of the same things that I'm sick of y'all about. Sick of y'all about.
It comes around.
But it was different. It was really different. We could get rebuked and we would not start an uprising. We would not get on social media, and you so eloquently unpacked that for me. And I'm glad you did that because you're right. I don't think much has changed. I just think it's on expose now.
And I think that's the thing, Bishop. I'm sorry, Bishop Taylor. Did you want to jump in? I didn't want to cut you off.
No, I was just saying the revolution is being televised.
Yeah, and I think to your point. So to your point about the Sauls thing, and I want to revisit that. A few things to what you said. So with the Sauls thing, and the problem is, again, it is social media. There's a phenomenon, and when I get the chance, I'll look up the particular theory. But what it is essentially that people are sharing their stories on social media. I went through this, I went through that, and then other people see the story and then insert themselves. It's almost like a narcissism of Facebook. They insert themselves into it. So while somebody over here dealt with an actual Jezebel or Ahab or Absalom or Saul spirit, now you look at it and you start putting yourself into it. You know what I'm saying? Social media exposes us to so many stories and experiences. And so I think the problem is we have heard so much preaching about the Saul spirit. They're trying to suppress you. And again, it may not have been necessarily for you. That might have been a word for somebody's church, somebody at a particular time, particular place. But here you go, eisegeting into, into this thing. And like, that's that. My pastor did that to me too. And then you connect, and then you make the groups, and then there are people that have called group chats, never even met, but they just come together to talk about their pain. And it's like, again, it's absent of context. You don't know where they are, who they are, where they're from, but you're just inserting yourself into the issue, inserting yourself into the problem. And so now you feel like, you think it's you. You think your pastor is Saul, and he's not. He's just correcting you, but you're living through other people's experiences and pushing it along. And I think that's a really dangerous thing that's happening in my generation. I'm noticing a lot of times people they see somebody else's experience and then they go do that. The second thing I would say, and this is something that I have to say, and I say this respectfully, but Part of the problem is y'all, Bishop Taylor, Bishop Page, y'all are brilliant. Y'all are analytical. Y'all are powerful men, critical thinkers. Here comes the problem though. Y'all cannot be critical thinkers and raise us in critical thinking and in analysis and in, you know what I'm saying, and in sharp thinking, and then be surprised when we start critically thinking. I think the danger is that people are talking about why is this generation always ask so many questions? Well, who raised us? We're taught to think critically. And so I think the problem is in the church now, especially within the Pentecostal church, there's this new not revelation, but there's new infatuation with education. Everybody's going to school now. We're open. Pentecostalism is accepted in these seminaries. So now we go these places, you know, so knowledge is available to us. Knowledge is being made available to us. And we're coming up in such a critical thinking space. And so now y'all made, I told my bishop this one time, my bishop, you know, because we joke sometimes, we spar intellectually, we have theological debates, never disrespect, we just talk. And he's like, where do you get this from? Where do you get these ideas? I'm like, you taught me to think like this. You taught me to question and to connect and to study and to read. Shout out to Bishop Austin Craig Williams. I drive him crazy. But I'm like, I'm a monster that you created. And a lot of times these things, the way we think, the way we ask questions, these come because y'all were not the ones that just taught us to just go with it. You know what I'm saying? It was a lot of times it was think. You know what I'm saying? Y'all taught us to think. Y'all preached us into thinking. Y'all preached us into thinking against the traditional standpoint. And so the danger is now that we're going a little too far. To my generation, I would say again, we just have to be humble in that way. We have to realize that our fathers and our some people would say they're too young to be fathers to us. So they say call them uncle. Our uncles and our aunts and our mothers and our fathers and those before us, they've been where we've been. And Bishop, what you said was so powerful. You've been us before. So I think the one of the things that's missing, and that one of the most powerful things that could ever exist in a generation, is stories. This generation, millennials and Gen Z, I just said it before, they love story. They love story time. They love people get up on Facebook and tell what happened and talk about their experience, talk about it. The old church has stories. They just call it testimony. You know what I'm saying? Formerly, we call it narrative theology. But when you express and you talk about, let me tell you something. Let me tell you why this is dumb and you should do this. Because when I was your age, I did that. Telling those stories and telling where it comes from I'm telling you, will gain another level of respect. That transparency that comes, a lot of times it's not welcome. A lot of times sometimes y'all don't feel comfortable doing it, and I understand it. But the most powerful way to shut our mouths is to tell us, I done did that already. You're not telling me nothing new. I did that. I said that before. I know how it feels to want to preach somewhere and I was told no. You know what I'm saying? I know how I feel. I did that. You know what I'm saying? You ain't doing nothing new. You know what I'm saying? But we think we're doing new stuff. That's why we're getting so arrogant. And so, because it's like, you know what I'm saying? We think we're inventing the wheel. But when y'all come out and say, oh, no, you're not, you know what I'm saying? You're not brand new. This is not anything new at all. We've done this already. We've been there. We've done that. It shuts us up. Honest to God.
You know, Mitch, let me say this. Dr. Kashawn Joseph has just attempted to correct us by going through the back door. See, that's why I'm sick of them. See, they so smart and they're so intelligent and they're so articulate. They know how to say what really needs to be said without being disrespectful. Now, notice how he built us up. He said he built us up. You know, your preaching and your teaching cause us to be analytical thinkers, and because we analyze and we, you know, narcigesis and all the stuff he making up on the fly, all that stuff. That's the reason why I can't stand them. That's the reason why they're gifted, they are anointed, but in all seriousness, to have more young men like Dr. Josephs, like Buster, like Spud. I mean, man, they make me proud. Looking at some of the comments from some of the sisters, the younger sisters, it makes me proud. And it lets me know that the church is going to be left in good hands. But Keyshawn, help me with this. Help Bishop Page with this.
Bishop,
how do we get comfortable?
Yes, sir.
in this new space of social media, because I'm gonna be honest with you, I would never be on it if it had not been for the pandemic. Now, Bishop Taylor, hey, he's been streaming from his church for years. I never saw any value in it. And when I say value, because I saw how it was misused, how it was abused. And to me, social media has always been a space I was uncomfortable in, because, be quite frank with you, I don't like my flaws and my missteps and my human weaknesses to be broadcast to the world when that's really not who I am. Yeah, I did it, but that's not who I am.
Of course.
I'm guilty, but don't define me by that moment. Don't define me by that affair. Don't call me out of my name because I got caught. Don't do that to me. I mean, hey, I did it. I admit it. I did it. I acknowledge it. But to me, it's like, everybody wants to put on this image of perfection, like they've never done anything wrong. Like they're so shocked when leaders have missteps, and we make mistakes. Yes, I'm acknowledging it. Yes, I'm admitting it. We're not perfect. So for me, I've always been very uncomfortable, and I'm becoming more uncomfortable now that I am standing on this side of preaching proper theology and historical context. And the Bible does not say wrong is right. The Bible says wrong is wrong. And when you start talking that way, you're characterized as a hater. You're characterized as someone judgmental. And when you're just trying to preach the gospel, people want to dissect everything you say. So I am rather uncomfortable, and that is why I dot every I. I cross every T. And when I come online, I am prepared, because I understand this space. You can't make mistakes in this space, unfortunately. Now that's my issue.
Yeah, for sure. Please, I hope that I hope you don't call me arrogant by saying my name is pronounced Kayshawn. If my mom is watching, she's very please don't kill me for that. It's Kayshawn, no, it is Kayshawn. I love y'all so much. But yes, to your point, I think
Hey Kay. Hey Kay.
I'll take it.
Listen, let me just say this. I want to say, I just want to say that tonight has been amazing. The dialogue, and we have just really now, fortunately for us, we have the benefit of using you as a nexus to the millennials, the Z's, and possibly the alphas. And when we start talking about the challenges that are facing, let me just first of all give credit to Influence Magazine. Influence Magazine, y'all go check them out. This article was written on March 19th in 2019. 10 challenges to youth, 10 challenges your youth pastor faces. And so along with some of their material, I've kind of, put this whole thing together. I know people love it when I highlight their websites and whatnot and take their material and regurgitate it and whatnot. So it just keeps me from writing stuff down. Why? Why do we have to reinvent the wheel? For what?
It's already up there.
Sure. So I want to ask you this. So
yes, sir.
Youth are leaving the church. Many millennials drop out of church after high school And the trend does not seem to be reversing with Generation Z.
Mm-hmm.
Youth pastors are trying to find ways, I'm adding some stuff here, but they have a base to engage students and keep them interested in church throughout their late teens, early 20s, trying to create a pathway
Mm-hmm.
of continuity from succession planning to the future of the church.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what is your thought on that challenge?
It is definitely difficult. It is definitely difficult maintaining their attention. A lot of it is cultural. It is the world in which we live. It is antichrist. The culture in which we are living is very antichrist, anti his church, and against all of that. So that a lot of it is cultural. What I will say is this: statistically speaking, thank you for praying for me. I need it. Statistically speaking.
Oh, it's gonna get intense, brother.
Yeah. They got me in the hot seat, man. What I will say is that if you notice statistically, and you can check, the Barna Report has a very interesting study on Generation Z and on Gen Alpha. Although church attendance is, kind of declining, spirituality is increasing. At one time, when I first wrote my first book, this was around 2017, 18, something like that, atheism had doubled in Generation Z. But then now recently that I've checked, it is now balanced out. And so there's an increased, there's a lessened amount of people that are considered atheists or agnostic, and an increased amount of people that consider themselves to be spiritual. So the problem is not God or spirituality. These people are interested in spirituality, but the problem is getting them committed to a house of worship. And so I think the thing is that we have to figure out a way to engage them spiritually. And this is where the Pentecostal church has the superpower. No offense to my other denominations, but statistically speaking, and again, I can provide the Barna Report link. Those that were considered to be disciples, meaning they are regular attendance in church, present in church, giving, and etc. Those that are involved in church have considered themselves to have had a personal encounter with the Lord in some way, or a personal encounter with the presence of God, be it through worship, through prophetic utterance, spiritual gifts, spiritual manifestation. That is so one of the main things that we can do is make sure that we maintain our power as a church, because spiritual experiences are those things that usually capture them and keep them kind of coming in, believe it or not. They're intrigued by spiritual manifestation, by the power of God. And so as long as we keep that going as a Pentecostal church, as I said, that's where we have the upper hand. We preach the gifts of the Spirit. We preach casting out devils. We preach those things. So those are things that are very, very important. Even we see this even culturally in the fact that look at how many paranormal and supernatural and all this kind of stuff psychics that people are into. They're into burning sage and all those things. They're into spiritual things, but it's the wrong side of the coin. It's the wrong way of going in. So we have to make sure that we are spiritually minded and offer them a spiritual remedy and spiritual answers in the power of the Holy Ghost. The second thing I would say is engaging them intellectually and being able to, I guess my brother Andrew just said, answer questions. We can't be afraid of the questions. Now, I don't see too much of like y'all's age group shying away from the questions, because y'all come with it. You know what I'm saying? I think y'all are used to us at this point. But there was a time in a day in which it was just trust God. You just walk with God. Just believe God. You know what I'm saying? And I understand that. But you got to be able to, apologetically defend the faith, as well as teach those that are in church how to apologetically defend the faith and answer to these questions that come up, because they're going to be questions. They're going to be things that come up. And so we have to equip them to preach the gospel, to understand the gospel, and to have an answer for the faith in which we have. So I would say those two things: creating a spiritual experience by the power of the Holy Ghost, and engaging them intellectually and teaching them to think apologetically.
That's good. That's good.
When I look at the Barna Report, Dr. Joseph, I want you to help me with this.
Yeah.
Our nation was founded on the principles of the Bible. We were known as a Christian country, in essence. We come from a Christian context. Of course, now we're more post-Christian, and we're rapidly moving towards what is called neo-pagan society, which people do not go to sacred spaces anymore. And I think it was, I hope I'm right, Sharice Harris put something up about community spaces, what I'm finding is that people have lost confidence. Your generation, even some of my generation, that's Christina Barr. Many young people are leaving their home churches, not necessarily leaving God. Community is important, but they're looking for a community space to call home. What I'm finding out is people are no longer interested in institutionalized denominationalism. They don't care anything about the denomination they were raised in. They're not concerned about the church that they were raised and born and bred and taught and educated in. They're looking for environment that is flowing in the same mindset, mind space that they're in. Now, do you feel like the church, and I'm figuring out how to say this, do you think institutionalized church has maybe spent more time trying to relate than to be relatable?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We are, everything pivots around the church. And I think this generation forgets that. For many years in this country, everything culturally pivoted around music, art, everything comes out of the church. The music today sucks because they don't go to church no more. You know what I'm saying? Even secularly. So, everything comes out of the church. The church was always the creative center. And so I think the problem is, as you said, we're trying really hard to be relatable, and we're going too far. There's some things, I'm not going to call any names because this platform goes very far. So I'm not going to give any specific examples, but there's some stuff that I've seen and I'm like, what is that? And the problem is it is drawing people to personality. And that's the danger. People are drawn now to personality, but we're not necessarily drawing them to Christ or to the gospel of Jesus Christ. So the pastor has followers, but they're not following Christ, if that makes sense. So there's a danger in that. And I think that we have to really, really do better in holding on to, teaching the word of God, the entire word of God, and teaching properly the gospel of Jesus Christ. You'd be surprised how many people don't know what the gospel is. These people, they know what prophetic is. They know, how to get a prophecy and how to speak in tongues and everything. They don't know the gospel. You know what I'm saying? So I think we have to really get back to grounding ourselves in that. And the gospel has its own drawing power. But I would say, to your point, yeah, definitely there's a really big fight against institutionalized church. People are going too far to win people to come to get butts in the seats and to get people to come into church. And it's just not, it's making the churches swell but not grow. The buildings are full, but the church is not growing. One of the things I think that's extremely powerful now is, Sister Christina brought up another brilliant mind, is like communities. So one of the things that's growing now and that's really effective, the disciple group of people are those that usually are in some sort of small group or community going out, even, and that could be a formal small group, or that could be, come on, y'all, we going out to eat. Everybody, let's go. You know what I'm saying? Bishop is saying, oh, young people, we going to Golden Corral. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? And we just go and we sit and we fellowship, and that builds the relationship that is needed to be able to extend. Those are things that, we can't really undermine, that will grow disciples who will in turn bring in other people. So I would say that even though the institutionalized portion of church is being kind of shaken, those groups, those connections, those relationships are essential. And those are things that are really going to save the church and keep those things going. So relationship is important. They want to be connected. Look at what we have. The world is built up on a network at this point. Add as a friend, follow. It's all about community and relationship. They want to be, so the young preachers that get on your nerves, I guarantee you, if you say, come, let's go have some pizza and argue, they'll go. You know what I'm saying? Or like, you know what I'm saying? Come, let's reason to get. Everybody loves connection and relationship, and that's what everybody's searching for. And that's something that is not, you know what I'm saying, that won't go out of style. And I think that will always work.
Well, let me just say this. I got to end this, guys. I got to end this. We're over our hour. But I want to say this. Me and Bishop talked about this. He probably don't remember. He might remember. 20 years ago, we talked about bringing young guys together and sharing some of our experiences, because we have a lot of them, and being able to be transparent and, helping you kind of avoid, some of the pitfalls that you can avoid, and then some you're not going to be able to avoid. You're just going to have to know how to navigate it. And that's another reality that
True.
people don't want to tell. There's some things you're gonna experience, you're gonna go through, but there's a way to navigate it.
Yeah.
Someone has been through those waters.
You know, Mitch, as you talked about navigating the waters, and Dr. Joseph, what's interesting about what I think her name is Christina, what she said and what you said about community, and how Bishop Taylor talked about navigating waters, but you all talked about community. And I think in our generation, we did try to create community, but we called it cell groups, where you had cell groups where the pastor would have heads of cell groups, and they would have the in-person, in the home Bible studies, creating that community. But what happened was one or two that were over the cell groups started their own ministries in the midst of the ministry that broke the connection of community, which created a high level of mistrust. And I must be very honest with you. I think we are suffering from the trauma of mistrust. I don't think that we trust deflected authority. I don't think we trust that who we give the platform to is going to be honorable and respect the fact that I am responsible, that God used me. God used me to open the door for you. I don't think that context is always amplified. I think it's all about I'm anointed and I will get here whether God use you or not. And I don't believe that. I believe that God uses people to bless you or to curse you. That's what I believe.
Yeah. We have to do a follow-up on this, a part 2 on this. We definitely have to do a part 2 on this. I just don't want to even say anything more because it's just going to just take it to a whole nother place. And I don't want to do that on today, but I do want to ask this question of both of you. There was a statement that was just made that most of the preaching coming across the pulpit is rebuke. And what was it? Can somebody find that?
No holiness. It was rebuke. No holiness.
Yeah, rebuke, no holiness, and no gospel. Now, is that what you're seeing? Is that what you? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I know that's not happening in my church.
No. Now, granted, I've seen some places that I'm like, what is happening right now? You know what I'm saying? Very few. I feel like there are very few. There are very few that just get too wild, and it's like, dude, what are you talking about? That's not appropriate for the pulpit. But there's some things that I see that I'm like, the old church wouldn't even do that. You know what I mean? But there is I wouldn't say that there's no not much holiness. I think it depends where you're looking at. I do understand what you're saying that there's no gospel. One of the things that I would say, and I said this before in a video, is that wherever there's hard preaching, wherever there's hard rebuke, or hard correction, you got to show people the way out. That's the gospel. There's no such thing as nobody should feel like they're trapped after they finish hearing you preach and just feel condemned. And like you have to show them the way to U-turn and a way to, you know what I'm saying? That's the gospel part of it. What is the good news about what you're saying? How can God forgive them out of that? That's the only thing I would say. But I don't think I don't think that's too big. I think there's a lot of, cultural preaching, a lot of motivational speaking, a lot of, other stuff. I don't think there's a lot of rebuking necessarily. What do you think, Bishop Page?
I think that, unfortunately, I think people have access to so many different tables until their spirituality and their faith practice have become nothing more than a buffet. And when you go to a buffet, you're going to be exposed to so many different type of dishes. And I wouldn't know how to really answer that other than I know I teach strong. I know I do. I know I teach biblical doctrine. I know I talk about church history. I know I talk about how I don't see the first century church to the first 300 years of the church. I don't see that same type maybe of passion. And I think Constantinian Christianity is what I see. I see that watershed of politicizing. You know, I see the, how can I say it, the colonizing Christianity. That's what I see. And because I may speak out against it, it may appear as though I'm fussing, but I think I'm just a passionate historian, church historian, someone that I pride myself on being a biblicist. I pride myself on being strong in systematic theology. I pride myself on doing biblical criticisms. I mean, that's what I pride myself on doing. So I don't think I made fuss, but I think that when you expose yourself to a lot of different platforms and buffets and smorgasbords, you're going to hear a lot. You're going to see a lot. You know, that's my opinion.
You can't blur the lines between a local church and the world. You know, there's a local church, so you got to make sure you know what's for that house. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah. Well, listen, and Lace, I know you wasn't talking about our church, but my point is, I wanted to bring that out there because there is a plethora of platforms that are out there that I'm sure craziness is being purported. You know, sometimes when I have, you know, some downtime, which is never, I'm kind of just slipping through the thing or whatever. And some of the stuff I hear people say, and they're passing this off as the gospel. And I'm like, where did you get that?
I have an example for y'all when we get off.
Yeah.
So, I have an example when we come off.
Yeah. And listen, and so but if you can come back next week, I want to take a deeper dive into the nexus with our youth. I don't want to abuse the Real Talkers on tonight, or myself, or my co-host, or you. You know, we stick to a strict hour. We went over, we came on 6 minutes late. And so we went over a little bit time now because this is a very interesting dialogue, but I don't want to abuse it. Yeah, of course. Please put the ways up to give just for a couple of minutes. And if you could assist us tonight, Real Talkers, in sewing, giving, whatever community of language or linguistics you want to use. But we certainly want you to support the platform on tonight. If you're using Cash App, $ the Kohai Nation, PayPal, Kohai Gives @gmail.com. And I believe that you will be blessed by being a blessing to someone else. Okay. While they're doing that, any final remarks, Dr. Kayshawn?
No, just, I'm thank you for allowing me this moment. I really appreciate it. And thank you for allowing me to speak up for my generation. I honor both of you greatly. Greatly appreciate and honor your preaching ministry. Love y'all. And listen, I love Pop Page. That's him and Archbishop White could be long lost brothers or something. They're just the same to me. I love him very much. I have tremendous honor for him. So, thank you for this opportunity, and I appreciate y'all and love y'all very much.
Thank you,
Mitch. I think we need to, of course, bring him back on. We have to do that. But what I would suggest, if we can get maybe Darryl Brown with you, but I want a young lady. I want to get a young lady as well. I think that would be very nice to get a young lady's perspective, particularly when, as Bishop Taylor so eloquently began the dialogue, that women are at a disadvantage in this space, particularly when you start talking about pastoral leadership, serving within the confines of a presidium, that they are overlooked most of the time. So I would be curious to see what a young lady in your generation feels about that. And I do want us to kind of really amplify this, creating this whole platform context where this generation, they don't need you to promote them. They will go and promote themselves. And I want to find out the spirit behind that. Is it no opportunity being provided, or is it I've been corrected, I've been rebuked, and now I want to do my own thing? So I'm really interested to find out the mindset or the ideology behind it, and what type of pathology are we creating. So you got to come back. You have to come.
I would love to. I would love to. I would love to.
All right. Well, it's a date. We'll see you next Monday night. All right. And listen, I really appreciate you coming and sharing with us on this evening. I think that it was a tremendous dialogue we opened up on tonight. And I want this to be the beginning of us having this larger conversation with younger guys that are interested in talking and having a dialogue, chopping it up and whatnot. And just, we don't have to be in no church. You could be just, somewhere else. So we need to talk about that, because I think that that's a very valuable thing. And our Jewish counterparts have done a great job in being historians and rehearsing the history to the generations. And the generations have, there's been some lost leaders, as the transfer has gone back. But for the most part, the base is intact. And that's what we have to make sure, that the base is intact. Absolutely. For us. So I'd like to do that.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, listen, those of you that are watching this after we have aired live, thank you so much. Please feel inspired and led of the Lord to support the platform. The ways to give are on the screen. This is not a platform where we raise money. This is not that platform. We're not going to prophesy and tell you this and that or anything of that nature. That I'm not against prophecy. There are times for that, but this platform, is for real dialogue. And when people are blessed, they give. Okay. And when you give, we can pay the staff. That's all. So we thank you tonight. All right. Dr. Brown, thank you for joining us. All the other folks that I saw, Bishop Marlin was with us earlier. We honor you, sir. And all of the pastors that joined us on tonight. Bishop from Pilgrim.
Bishop Oliver.
Donald Oliver. Yes, so I want to thank and I want to honor everyone that joined us on this evening. Well, listen, thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much, Keyshawn, for joining us on this evening. And we'll see you on next week. Real Talkers, get ready for him. And he's going to bring some help on next week. So we'll see what's going to happen between now and next Monday. But we're looking forward to it. Liz, thank you so much, man, for having such an exciting conversation tonight. It was really, really good.
Man, and this was fantastic. It really was. And I love those young guys and I love the young ladies. And man, I'm really excited about their future. The future is bright for all of them.
Yes, really is. Well, that's it. I guess we'll talk to the Real Talkers next week. Well, just a couple of announcements, right? We got Wednesday morning word at 6 a.m. I'll be speaking this Wednesday. Look forward to having you with us. Take a picture of the Zoom link if that helps you, and come join us at 6 in the morning. The sanctuary opens up at 5. And then I come on to talk at about 6:01, 6:02, and we have a great time. And then Wednesday night, you want to talk about that, Bishop?
Yeah, we have School of the Bible Wednesday night. But you gave me an idea today. because you wanted to bring on Pastor Hattie Robinson to talk about the Calling All Hannahs Conference.
Yes.
So I'm going to be doing that Wednesday night. I'm going to interject it in our Bible study. We're going to bring on her, the elders, and talk about how that whole conference started, what was behind it, what is the real meaning of Calling All Hannahs. It's going to be great. And then, of course, the conference starts on Friday and Saturday at our church. So it's going to be tremendous. So I'm looking forward to the weekend. But of course, I'm going to be in Dallas Thursday, back Friday, gone Saturday, but I'll be back home Sunday. But I'm really looking forward to this is going to be a great week. Great week.
Awesome. Well, listen, thank you so much. And Real Talkers, thank you so much. And walk with the King today and be a blessing. We'll see you soon.